Hello, and welcome back to my channel and/or my alternate Earth. Terra Sauria, an alternate version of Earth where the dinosaurs and every extinct species living at the end of the Cretaceous period didn't go extinct. Each video, I will present one species and talk about how and why they evolved, where they live, etc. I will not go into more scientific/biological explanations of my creatures. My videos will mostly be focused on the design and evolution aspects of each species. I highly recommend you go back and watch the 3 previous videos in this series before you watch this one. The playlist should be linked in the top right corner, but if it isn't, you can find it in the description. Alright, without wasting any more time, let's get into the 4th species of Terra Sauria. The 4th species being introduced to Terra Sauria is the Regalipteryx, which translates to royal wing. Let's start with this species' origins. For those of you who guessed on the post that I made, you were correct. It was a raptor/dromaeosaurid, but specifically one of the most well-known raptors, Velociraptor. No, not you. Perfect. Velociraptor mongoliensis. Considering most people know this dinosaur, I'll just go straight to the measurements. Velociraptor mongoliensis was about 1.5 to 2.07 meters, or 4.9 to 6.8 feet long, 0.5 meters, or 1.6 feet tall at the hip, and a weight of around 14.1 to 19.7 kilograms, or 31 to 43 pounds. Even though they were only around the size of a large turkey, they were able to become formidable predators in their respective ecosystems, largely thanks to their sickle claws at the end of each foot, which could cut and slice into their prey. How will they adapt and evolve? Before we find that out, let's talk about where their future descendants live. As I said in my previous video, and given the name of the species it originated from, the Regalipteryx lives in the more mountainous regions of Mongolia and parts of China. While they do most of their hunting in the lowlands, they live the majority of their lives in the mountains. As seen by lamptilosaurs, many herbivores were increasing in size, so Velociraptor also had to increase its overall size, which actually lines up with how they evolved from smaller, thought to be ancestors, such as the I'm not even gonna try and pronounce that. To get through the bulky hide of animals such as the Lamptilosaurus, Regalipteryx developed larger sickle claws, and claws in general, allowing them to easily cut through the tough skin of many animals. They also developed a peacock-like feather display on their tails for their mating display. The one major adaptation they developed are opposable thumbs and pronating wrists. Stay with me. Members of the Regalipteryx that had more mobility with their hands and could manipulate objects easier were favored, given that they could grapple prey easier and pick up old carcasses to bring them back to their homes. How did they develop these? You decide, because I think with enough time and proper evolutionary development, they could evolve opposable thumbs and pronating wrists. Some smaller adaptations include a broader snout to hold onto their prey easier and inflict more damage, a higher amount of feathers on top of their head for a mating display in males, and an intimidation display, which is on their underside of their feathers on their arms to scare off large predators. Before moving on to their diet, the Regalipteryx reaches almost 1.1 meters, or 3.8 feet tall to the top of their hips, and almost 1.5 meters, or 5 feet tall to the top of their head. They also reach around a length of 2.4 meters, or 8 feet, and a weight of 220 pounds, or around 100 kilograms. The Regalipteryx uses ambush hunting to hunt prey smaller than itself, such as Lamptilosaur and Cursivenator hatchlings and eggs, most of the time. If they're starving or want a challenge, they try to hunt a Lamptilosaurus. Sometimes they're successful, and sometimes they're not. If they're hunting a Lamptilosaurus in a group, they do have a higher chance of taking it down. It also helps if the Lamptilosaurus is an older member of a herd. If they do decide to hunt a Lamptilosaurus, they will start by ambushing it, using their bright underarm feathering to intimidate and scare it. They will chase it for a bit, unless it tires, and they will start hopping onto it and start slashing and biting at it until it falls over, to where they can finish it off. If something such as a Cursivenator leaves a carcass, they might also indulge in that. This section is going to be a long one, so get ready. Regalipteryx will meet 4 times, twice at the end of winter, not consecutively, and twice at the end of summer, also not consecutively, which is when they are at the ages of 8 and 9, and they typically meet in large cave openings or even large fields. Once they find a mate, the males begin their mating dance, which works in a similar way to modern-day peacocks. They raise up their tails and shake their feathers. If the female is starting to become disinterested, they'll start to puff out their chest. If they successfully find a mate during the first time they meet, similarly to lamptilosaurs, they will mate for life. If they don't find a mate the first 2 times, they have 2 more chances. After the 4th time, they typically find a mate, but if they don't, then they're on their own and they really don't get another chance. A female might decide they're the only option left and decide to mate, but most of the time they end up as loners. These loners roam the mountains and open plains all alone, scavenging for any food they can find. But sometimes they can come across a familial pack who might recruit them to help hunt down large game. They might also come across an interested female who perhaps lost her mate in a confrontation with a lamptilosaurus, or even a cursivenator who is in dire need of a mate. Speaking of familial packs, how do they work? Well, when a Regalipteryx pair have offspring, the parents become the leaders of the pack, and the children don't do much for the first 2 years or so, but once they are large enough to hunt, they start off by helping the parents in their hunting endeavors. They might hunt a lamptilosaur hatchling here and there, but once they've reached full size and maturity, which is typically at the age of 3 and 4. I know I said earlier that they'd meet 4 times for their mating season at 8 and 9, which typically means that's when they're mature, but physical maturity and sexual maturity are very different in the case for the Regalipteryx. Coming back to the familial packs, the offspring can present their maturity by trying to hunt down a similarly sized lamptilosaur, and if they succeed, they are accepted as a hunter in the family. But if they fail, they either become a loner or they sustain too many injuries, and they most likely perish. But they can challenge themselves by hunting down a larger lamptilosaur, which can give them more respect from their parents. Once all the offspring have shown their strength, or their weakness, the familial pack is set, with the 2 parents being the leaders and the offspring, at least the ones that are left, being the ones who hunt and get food for the pack. To expand further on the loners I previously mentioned, once they get recruited by a familial pack, they kind of just tag along until they're needed in a hunt, in which if they do well, they get a good portion of food, and they might even get a chance at seducing one of the offspring of the leaders. Their kindness towards other members of their own species can differ greatly, but they can typically be coordinated and easily work together if needed. When coming up with the next species, I was actually thinking about it while I was doing the illustrations for the Lamptilosaurus, and I remembered Velociraptor mongoliensis and thought, how did I not remember the Mongolian dinosaur? I then thought of possible evolutionary adaptations for Velociraptor. I originally struggled to come up with a concrete idea for a bit. I started with the idea of a flying predator that would stay in the trees and strike at prey, similarly to the Archaeopteryx. But then I leaned more towards a larger land predator because of how Velociraptor was evolving. I eventually came up with the idea of a peacock-like structure of feathers on the tail for a mating display, a broader snout to allow them an easier way to hold on to their prey and inflict more damage, a higher amount of feathers on top of their head for mating displays for the males, and an intimidation display on the underside of their feathers on their arms to scare off larger predators and intimidate others of their own species. Alright, that was the Regalipteryx. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of the 4th species of Terra Sauria. This world and this channel have gone to lengths I could have never imagined. I mean, almost 130 subscribers and 200 plus views on all of my videos. I was just so surprised by all the support and feedback from all of you, and I just wanted to say thanks. And hey, if this is your first time watching this series, and you like what you see, consider subscribing. It's free, and it helps me get closer to my goal of 500 subs by the end of the year, which is becoming more and more possible every video I post. If you haven't already, check out the first 3 videos in this series in a brand new playlist to give you easy watchability. Just don't mind the first episode's audio quality, and if you want to check out some of the art I do in my free time, or art from this series, check out my Instagram. I haven't posted very much of anything yet, but more is to come. The link to it is in my bio. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been Ben. Goodbye.